13 Premier Leagues, 5 FA Cups and 2 Champions Leagues. That was all Man United during the Sir Alex Ferguson era. He was special, he was legendary, he was the major point of difference. But then, after 27 years in charge, he decided to stop. And since that dark day at Old Trafford, when 75,000 people watched him go, Manchester United have never been the same. But what happened? Why have Man United sunk so miserably over the last decade? Let's find out. Yes, we have more or less hinted at the first catastrophic event of Man United's downfall, and that is arguably the most heartbreaking day in the Red Devils' history, the 8th of May 2013, the day Sir Alex Ferguson called it quits. And after taking over in November 1986, he stayed at Old Trafford for over 26 and a half years, a record in the history of the English top flight. And beyond the trophies and all the moments of greatness under his belt, his reign wasn't just about silverware. It was about building an empire. He was the culture, he was the vision, and he was the identity of United. Yes, when he pointed out his retirement, all United fans were devastated at the thought of, where will the team go from here? Realistically, the situation was very reminiscent of Klopp and Liverpool in 2024, but of course, the emotions were even higher back then. Sir Alex Ferguson was more than just a United manager. He was the epitome of the Premier League, and every Red Devil was hopeful for the future because it was he who had chosen his successor, and that heavy task had fallen into the hands of David Moyes. Ferguson even dubbed him the chosen one. But in fact, David Moyes was simply not good enough. He came in after a very successful 11-year spell at Everton, but he lacked experience at this level. Interestingly, many did indeed see Moyes as the man for Man United's future. He developed a routine of patience, which is incredibly valuable at Old Trafford, and for him, timing was key. Yes, he hadn't spent 26 years at one club, but 11 deserved admiration too. Can you name the first misstep of his forgettable tenure? The fact that he replaced Ferguson's trusted coaching staff with his own Everton team, instantly disrupting the club's ecosystem. And well, from that moment on, Man United went from being a team with a winning mentality to a club with a high reputation but little tactical intelligence. Moyes simply couldn't match Ferguson's footballing IQ. It was clear from the start, and the results proved it. A 2-0 loss to Olympiacos in the Champions League, a humiliating 3-0 defeat to Liverpool at Old Trafford, and the unthinkable 7th place in the Premier League. Yes, you might think that was the worst ever Prem finish in their history, but they actually broke that record later. Next disastrous event, the miserable recruitment in the post-Fergie era. And if you thought Moyes' desire to sign his Everton boy Fellaini for €35 million was bad, just wait for the rest. From Angel Di Maria to Memphis Depay, from Alexis Sanchez to Harry Maguire, Manchester United have become the poster child for recruitment mismanagement. Yes, by the way, those 4 alone cost Man United almost $250 million, just for the record. But the worst part was that it wasn't just $1 billion spent in vain, it was the lack of a cohesive vision. Managers came and went, each with their own transfer wish list, resulting in a bloated and disjointed squad. Di Maria arrived as a top signing in 2014, but the lack of a clear idea of how to use him properly made him one of the worst transfers in the league's history. His scandals with Luis van Gaal are still notorious. The same can be said for Sanchez, who went down as a player with one of the highest salaries in the club's history. And so, over time, the inability to identify and develop top talent left the Red Devils miles behind Man City and Liverpool, who were building well-oiled machines while United were throwing money at problems they simply couldn't solve. It was clear that the problem ran much deeper. And one of the biggest villains in this whole story was undoubtedly Ed Woodward, the super billionaire who took over as executive vice chairman in 2013, the same summer Ferguson left. While Woodward turned Manchester United into a commercial powerhouse, securing lucrative sponsorship deals and keeping the brand dominant, his footballing decisions were catastrophic. In the first summer without Ferguson, everyone expected his absence to be made up for with some stellar signings. Well, nothing of the sort. The only player to arrive was the aforementioned Fellaini, and in the years that followed, things did not improve. Not only that, but United became the epitome of dysfunction in terms of recruitment and strategy. Yes, as we mentioned earlier, Man United did manage to bring in some star players such as Di Maria and Pogba, but they failed to deliver, especially the former. And let us be realistic, Woodward's focus shifted from building a balanced squad to selling shirts, with little regard for the tactical needs of the team. Another major problem in the post-Fergie era was the failure to replace ageing legends. Yes, Vidic, Rio, Evra, Giggs, Scholes, they were part of a glorious era at Old Trafford that brought so much joy to the red part of Manchester. But as the old saying goes, only the diamonds are forever. All the legends needed to be replaced in the right way, without spending fortunes on stars who were clearly past their prime. And those players were Falcao and Schweinsteiger. How do you replace Rooney and Scholes with players only slightly younger than them? It just sounds ridiculous. So yeah, this whole desire to bring in some short-term solutions made the days at Old Trafford even darker, and there was just no clear sign of how the Red Devils were going to climb the ladder of success. Even a proven specialist like Louis van Gaal couldn't do it. After the Moyes disaster, United turned to the Dutchman to steady the ship. And as we know about all the great Dutch coaches, Michels, Cruyff, Van Basten, and more recently, Koeman, Van Gaal was the ideal man when it came to discipline and tactical structure. Yes, things seemed to be under control at first, but Van Gaal's unattractive and old-fashioned style of play was nothing compared to Ferguson's attacking and energetic philosophy. And despite winning the FA Cup and bringing in the likes of Anthony Martial, Luke Shaw, and Ander Herrera, Van Gaal was still not the man for this job. Yes, he was an improvement on Moyes, but in the end, it wasn't really that hard to achieve this. Next in line, Jose Mourinho. The arrival of the former Chelsea, Inter Milan and Porto manager divided the Man United faithful. On one hand, Mourinho was a proven winner. His glittering CV promised trophies. On the other, he was known for a fiery personality and abrasive approach that often left clubs in chaos. For a time, he looked like the man to bring glory back to Old Trafford. In his first 2 seasons, Mourinho delivered the League Cup and Europa League, giving United fans a taste of success. But beneath the silverware, tensions were simmering. Mourinho's 3rd season unravelled in spectacular fashion. His pragmatic, defensive style clashed with United's attacking traditions, and his public criticism of Paul Pogba, Luke Shaw, and Marcus Rashford created a toxic atmosphere. To this day, Mourinho remains the manager of the post-Ferguson era held in the highest esteem by United fans. And the most common argument for this is because he has won trophies. Okay, but Erik ten Hag was also a trophy-winning coach. But no one speaks highly of the Dutchman. What is your opinion on this controversial subject? Another overlooked event that raised tensions at Old Trafford took place in April 2021. It was the announcement of the European Super League. Manchester United, owned by the Glazers, one of the driving forces behind the proposal. For the fans, it was the ultimate betrayal. This controversial moment is rarely talked about now, but 4 years ago, it was one of the most discussed topics in the world of sport. The Super League represented everything United supporters despised about the Glazers' ownership: the pursuit of profit, not the soul of the game. Naturally, the backlash was swift and furious. Fans protested outside Old Trafford, storming the stadium to make their views known. The Big Six clubs, including United, came under immense pressure to pull out of the league, and within days the project collapsed. Or at least Premier League part of it. Yes, it's true that the Glazers apologised publicly, but the damage had already been done. The Super League fiasco has further stained the already fragile relationship between the club's owners and its supporters, cementing the Glazers as villains in the eyes of the United faithful. Speaking of the Glazers, we must focus a little more on them. After their takeover in 2005, and for the first few years of their reign, nobody noticed the damage they were doing from within. Alex Ferguson's structure was so unshakable that all the shenanigans and wrongdoings were hidden behind the thick walls of Old Trafford. But it all came crashing down after the Scots' departure. Throughout their reign, the Glazers have prioritised profit over performance, leaving United with huge debts while taking millions in dividends. No footballing strategy, poor recruitment and managerial instability, 3 words that sum up their disastrous influence on Man United. In the coming months, Man United will turn 20 years old with the Glazers at the helm. Yeah, although they're currently minority owners following the arrival of Sir Jim Ratcliffe, rest assured that the Glazers still have an influence on the decisions made. In retrospect, one of the Glazers' most positive moves in that 12-year period was the return of Cristiano Ronaldo. Well, it was a fairy tale on paper, but in reality, it drove the final nail into the coffin of a burning Old Trafford. Signed more for nostalgia and marketing rather than footballing necessity, Ronaldo's arrival disrupted the balance of the team. Although he scored 24 goals in his first season back, the team struggled to adapt to his presence. Younger players such as Marcus Rashford and Jadon Sancho saw their roles diminish, while the pressing system favoured by modern managers became impossible to implement with Ronaldo in the side. Yeah, I know, many of you are already hitting the close button, but hear me out. From today's perspective, do you think Cristiano's return was a positive move for the future of the club? With all due respect to Ronaldo and the impact he's had, he was simply unnecessary. Yes, his attacking returns in his first 5 years back were decent, but then came 22-23 and that fire interview with Piers Morgan, where he criticised the club's infrastructure, the management, and even Erik ten Hag. That's why we said this exactly was the final nail in the coffin. If before this Ronaldo saga, Man United had anything slightly in common with the great club we all know and love, after the interview, it was all forgotten. And now, we all wait to see what change the new manager, Ruben Amorim, will bring to the club. It remains to be seen. And if you enjoyed that one and feel the urge to discuss this interesting topic, feel free to post your opinion below. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already, and check some of our latest uploads. I'll catch you in the next one.